Hi again, folks, and welcome to day 3 already of Special Projects pack number 3, of course, and this time we're kicking off with the 5th build of 10 for this particular month, with a car that I had so many messages, so many comments about doing a build for the race spec version, or at least a race spec version, because there are plenty to choose from, of the C8 Corvette Stingray. Already a popular car, one of the most anticipated cars to arrive in the game in the first place, road car or race car, and now a more track-focused, race-ready version. And of course, there's only so much you can ever do with a road car anyway, but I will say I am very happy with how this one turned out. So I chose this particular livery. Like I said, there are tons of different ones to go for though, so you don't have to go for it by any means, but if you do want to go for exactly what I've got, then I'll flash up the name of the creator on screen. Of course, there'll be a link in the description below. You can add it straight to your library. And as far as actually building the car, for the visual side, all you need to do is fit the wide body, and then their design, of course, fits everything else, so that's simple enough. But then for the tuning parts, of course, being a racer, it makes things pretty simple. You want your stage 1 weight reduction. Then for club sports, we have the power restrictor and the ballast. Power restrictor isn't as important, but I always like to have it anyway for if you do need to change it. Stage 2 weight reduction as well, of course. For the semi-race, you want your racing crank, the fully customised computer, the LSD, of course, that limited slip diff. I have opted to increase the rigidity, again, being a race car. We've got the stage 3 weight reduction, of course. As far as the racing stuff, perhaps not as many things fitted as you would have thought, and for those who are unfamiliar with the specs of the car, it might not seem as powerful as you might expect either. Now, from what I could find at least, for this particular number 63 car, it seems like I should be running about 500 horses and 1,245 kilos. So if I'm wrong there, if you know different numbers, feel free to correct me and adjust your tune, but at least from what I could find, that seems accurate to those particular regulations. I've gone for the racing filter, the racing silencer, and the manifold. You don't really need all of that stuff, but again, I wanted it to have like the vibe and especially the sound of a race car as well, and it's these kind of things that makes that change to the sound as well. So on that, occasion, I don't mind restricting it to get that benefit in sound. As far as the brakes, we've got the racing pads and, of course, the discs. Doesn't matter if you go for slotted or drilled, go for whichever one you prefer. We've got the race clutch and flywheel, of course, fully customised suspension, and the gearbox as well. I've gone for racing hards, as I pretty much always do for race cars, and then for the extreme stuff, there's nothing fitted there. So it's a fairly simple tune. It's not a particularly expensive car either, so in terms of the cost to desirability ratio, this is one of the best of this this pack, I should say, that I've released, because you can build it very easily, and it's also a car which I think a lot of people have been wanting a tune for, or at least from what I've heard you guys saying, you wanted a variation of what you've already tried to do in some cases yourself. So as you can see, it's sitting at 725 points, so it's a little bit too high to be a cash cow, but there are still events that you could use it for, or adjust the tune if you need to. As far as the suspension, we've got 95mm front and rear, anti-roll on 4 and 6, 38 for the compression on the dampers with 45 for rebound, frequency on 3.35, 3 degrees of camber, fairly hefty, but not unheard of for a GT class car, 20 in for the toe on the rear, 10 out for the front. As far as the diff, of course a diff can make and break a tune for many people, so give it a try. If you don't like it, adjust some stuff. As I've always said with my tunes, I like them to be a canvas for people to work from, so use what I've done and then, change the bones of it as you will to suit your personal style. So we've gone for halfway on initial torque, then 20 and 20 for both acceleration and braking. As far as NOS, of course, it isn't fitted, as you can see. The race gearbox, I've just changed the auto setting to 320 kilometers an hour. You're working with too many gears really there, but, that's what we've got, so that's what I'm using. The power restrictor is untouched, but we've set the ECU to 87%, so hovering around 500 horses, 113 kilos of ballast to get us up to 1,245, and I've put that all the way to the front just to get us that little bit closer to a 50-50 split. 45-55 is about close enough, and as far as the downforce, I've opted to have it as high as possible, because with 500 horses, it's never going to be a top-end car anyway, so I went more in, all in for the handling and the grip side of things, so adjust that. Your mileage will vary, adjust it as you need. And then for this stuff, you can see what I've done as far as the air cleaner, silencer, etc., all being fitted or not fitted, as I showed you just now anyway. So all that remains is, of course, jump out to Daytona and talk about what this car actually feels like to use. So what does it feel like? Well, a few of you who commented and requested a build like this, a GT3 style, GTE, whatever, were having some issues with making the C8 feel good as a race car. I'm not going to say that this is some kind of perfect tune, but I will say I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm pretty proud of it. It's a car which can step its tail out, but if you think about it, you could pretty much say that about any GT3 car, or any GT2, or any GT1, or pretty much any race car, period. So I think it feels appropriate, it's super smooth, it's surprisingly forgiving, and I think part of the reason why is having 500 horses. That's a fairly reasonable amount of power to have, so it's very easy for the car to cope with, especially with way more downforce, really grippy tyres, stiffer suspension, and just more all-round control. Top end speed wise, it's not the fastest thing around, it's also not supposed to be, as I said earlier on. So if you do decide to use it, of course I hope you enjoy it. This one I could definitely see being, for at least some people, one of their more anticipated builds from this particular 10, and for those I really do hope that you do enjoy it. If you personally found one or two tweaks maybe that you thought worked better, then absolutely drop it down in the comments for other people to benefit from, and if you do retune it for a certain event or whatever, let me know down below as well. Overall though, I hope you really enjoy it. Check out the builds that I've already done in the past couple of days, and of course the others which are releasing in the rest of this week as well in pack number 3. But until next time, I'll see you then, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.